This is the beginning of a story God started long before Joseph was born. Even before his birth, God had already placed a destiny inside his family. Jacob, his father, still carried the pain of his past, but also God's promise over his future. And in that home, in the middle of wounds, rivalries, and fragile hopes, God was about to send a child who would not simply be a son, but a sign, a reminder that even when families are broken, God continues writing stories of redemption. Joseph was born into a home where love and tension lived together. But from the first moment, Jacob knew this child was different. He saw in him a light, a gentleness, an innocent purity. And in heaven, God was already, "This child I will use to save nations." No one around them could imagine that this fragile baby in his mother's arms would one day become an instrument of salvation for an entire people. Joseph was not born by accident. He was born with intention, with a divine mission. This is the story of a child chosen by God long before he understood the world he was born into. Joseph was 17, working in the quiet fields, helping his brothers, living a simple life. But God was preparing something greater. One night, Joseph had a dream so vivid, so divine, he could not keep it to himself. We were tying bundles of grain, and suddenly my bundle stood upright, and your bundles gathered around it and bowed before mine. His brothers stared at him, confused, offended, threatened. "How can you rule over us?" they said. But Joseph did not understand the meaning yet. It was not pride, it was prophecy. Then came a second dream, even stronger than the first. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed before me. His father Jacob was shocked, but deep inside, he felt something sacred in Joseph's words. The dreams were not from Joseph, they were from God. A glimpse of a destiny far beyond the fields, far beyond anything Joseph could imagine. This was only the beginning. In a home that should have been filled with love, but instead, shadows began to grow. Joseph's brothers watched him from a distance, not with admiration, but with quiet jealousy. Joseph was young, full of dreams, full of innocence. But innocence can be misunderstood, and his brothers misunderstood him deeply. Every time Joseph spoke with joy, they heard pride. every time he shared what God showed him, they felt threatened. His father Jacob loved him dearly, and the favor Joseph carried became a heavy weight for his brothers. They whispered among themselves, their hearts tightening, their patience fading. What was once simple brotherhood slowly turned into bitterness. But Joseph had no idea. He did not know that the dreams placed inside him were stirring storms he could not see. He only knew this, that God was near, and that the future felt bright. But destiny always begins with tension, and Joseph's journey was just entering the fire. Joseph's brothers had gone far from home to pasture their father's flocks near a place called Dothan. Jacob grew uneasy. News travelled slowly in those days, and a father's heart imagines many dangers. Go and see if all is well with your brothers, he said to Joseph. Then come back and bring me word. Joseph obeyed without hesitation. He wrapped himself in the robe his father had given him and set out across the hills, not knowing that this walk would change his life. The sun burned over the dry fields. Dust rose beneath his sandals. Yet Joseph walked with a quiet confidence, believing he was simply doing what his father asked and what God allowed. From a distance, his brothers saw him coming. The colors of his robe, the way he walked, they recognized him long before they could see his face. Old resentments rose like fire in their hearts. Words Jacob once spoke, memories of Joseph's dreams, all mixed together into bitterness. Here comes the dreamer, one of them said. The word dreamer was not gentle on their tongues. It was a weapon, a way to reduce Joseph from brother to threat. In the middle of that field, where the wind should have carried laughter, another conversation began. Come now, one voice whispered. Let us get rid of him. One suggestion after another, darker than the last, spilled out of wounded hearts. They spoke of killing him, of throwing him into a pit, of erasing his dreams from their memories. But heaven was listening, and God would not let their hatred write the final line. Reuben, the eldest, felt fear rise within him. He heard the anger in his brothers' voices, but he also heard the echo of a father's grief that would surely follow. Let us not shed blood, he said. Throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him. Reuben planned to rescue Joseph later, to bring him safely back to his father. Even in the middle of a trap set by men, God was already weaving a different plan. Joseph kept walking, unaware of the storm gathering in their hearts. To him, the field of Dothan was just another place on the journey. To God, it was the doorway from a protected boyhood into a destiny that would one day save nations. The trap was waiting, but so was providence. Joseph walked toward his brothers, carrying food and goodwill, never imagining what waited for him. But before he could even greet them, their faces hardened, their hearts burned with envy. They surrounded him. The tone changed, words turned into anger, and anger turned into violence. They tore off his robe, the one his father gave him, and dragged him toward a deep, empty pit. Joseph cried out, but the only answer was the echo of his own voice. He fell into the darkness, alone, bruised, betrayed by the people meant to protect him. Above him, his brothers walked away, unmoved. To them, Joseph was gone. But heaven had not forgotten him. God's plan did not end in a pit. Sometimes your story falls into a pit before it rises into purpose. The desert wind carried a story of betrayal deeper than the sand beneath Joseph's feet. The brothers watched from a distance as the caravan approached slowly, bells ringing on the camels' necks. These traders, men Joseph had never seen, would decide the next chapter of his life. The brothers whispered, "It's better this way." But their eyes knew the truth. Guilt had already entered their hearts. The traders saw Joseph, young, healthy, strong, and without hesitation they asked, "How much for the boy?" Silver exchanged hands, and in a single moment, Joseph was no longer a son, nor a brother, but property. His wrists were tied, his future rewritten. His steps led toward a land he had never known, Egypt. But heaven whispered, "This pain is not the end. It is the doorway to purpose." This part of the story is not about Joseph, but about the father who loved him. Jacob had already suffered many losses in life, but nothing prepared him for the day his sons returned without Joseph. Their clothes were torn, their faces pale, their hands shaking as they held out a robe. Joseph's robe, covered in blood. Jacob's heart stopped. His breath cracked inside his chest. They told him, "Father, a wild beast devoured him." But the truth was far darker, and Jacob would never know. He fell to the ground, crying out with a pain that pierced the heavens. He tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and refused to be comforted. Days passed, nights passed, but his sorrow remained. His home grew silent, his eyes dimmed with grief, and every dawn felt heavier than the one before. Jacob whispered to himself, "Surely I will go down to my grave mourning for my son." He didn't know that God was still writing the story. He didn't know that the son he believed dead was still alive. And one day, that broken heart would beat with joy again.